it's your girl Chanel Renee. Welcome to another episode of Life with Lady Chanel. And I am your host and your girl, Chanel Renee. And if you don't know me, I am a life coach and transformational and inspirational advisor. And I also help people to navigate the challenges of co-parenting. If you want to know more information about setting boundaries with your narcissistic co-parent or ex, stay tuned. Welcome back. We are here to answer your questions about how to set appropriate boundaries with a narcissistic co-parent, ex, whatever they were in your life. How do you set the appropriate boundary? If you know anything about what I do, majority of what I talk about is setting healthy boundaries. And the boundaries, believe it or not, are not for the other person. Boundaries are for you. Boundaries are to protect the valuable asset that you are. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has told you this today, but you are valuable. You are amazing. You are incredible. And in order to protect that asset, you've got to set boundaries. I don't know if you guys have anything valuable in your home, but most of the time, most of us, when we have something very, very valuable in our home, we protect it. It's not sitting out on the front porch, right? It's locked up. It may be in a safe. It may be in a jewelry closet or a jewelry cabinet, jewelry box, or something of some sort to make sure we protect it because it is valuable. It's the same thing with us. In our lives, I provide a certain amount of value to the people around me. And in order to protect that value, I can't just be willy-nilly with my time. I can't be willy-nilly with things that are important to me in order for me to stay pure and valuable to the people that I serve. And so it's the same thing with you. If you've gone through a relationship process with somebody, they know how valuable you are. They're hoping that nobody else knows how valuable you are, especially if you've been dealing with someone that has narcissistic tendencies. Just to give you a disclaimer, I am not a doctor, so I do not diagnose people with narcissism. I'm gonna say that again. I am not a doctor, so I do not diagnose people with narcissism. However, the narcissistic traits are so similar that it's easy to kind of spot someone that has narcissistic tendencies, has a narcissistic mindset towards certain things or certain types of people. You can easily see that, especially if you've been living long enough, okay? I'm here to talk to you about if you're dealing with somebody that you've been in a relationship with and they have these narcissistic tendencies and you have children with them and you have to interact with them for the sake of your kids. I want to share with you a couple of things to make sure that you keep in mind when you're setting your boundaries. Again, I will say this, boundaries are not for them. They are for you. You've got to protect your peace, your joy, your happiness, your space, okay? And so you don't want this person just popping up whenever they feel like it. People that have narcissistic tendencies tend to want to still control you, to know that they still have access and a level of access that they can control, okay? They are looking for something or someone to latch onto to be able to continue to control. And as long as that person is you, they are not going anywhere to find somebody else to do that because they can still have that type of interaction with you. So as a person that consults people that are dealing with narcissistic spouses or ex-spouses or ex-boyfriends or ex-whatever, I encourage them to set clear, defined boundaries. You want to have clear, defined visitation time, okay? I encourage you to have a parenting plan in place because if you don't have a parenting plan in place, it's so hard to have clear, defined, black and white rules, okay? Narcissistic people hate rules. They hate boundaries. So they are going to give you a hard time when you're setting these boundaries up because yesterday they used to have all the access in the world to you, right? Now today you're saying, no, you can't just call me at all hours of the night. No, you can't just stop by my house. As a matter of fact, you cannot stop by my house at all, okay? And so you want to make sure you have clear, defined boundaries when it comes to visitation, time, location, even communication. There's people that they will communicate with their co-parent all hours of the day and night. simply because they don't want that other person to move on. They don't want that other person to be able to think outside of them. And so I encourage my parents and I say, listen, you've got to set times. If this person communicates with you all hours of the day and night, you need to let them know these are the hours that you can communicate with me, and only specifically about our children, period. If they start talking about, oh, I miss you, I want you back in my life, or you're so sexy, or you're trash, you're this, it can go either way. Then you've got to shut it down. You've got to shut it down. Sometimes because you have children, you want to block that person, but that person has children, they have rights to their children. So it's kind of difficult, but you've got to make sure that you set clear, defined boundaries. Don't respond, don't react to foolishness. Don't give them the time of day. I know that's hard. I know it's hard. However, if you give in every time they trigger you, they push a button, you're gonna go through the same roller coaster every time. You've got to make sure that you are not responding to foolishness, because again, you're starving that person of the attention that they need in order for them to continue. It's almost like water. They need attention like they need water. And if you keep giving them the attention that they're looking for by them pushing your buttons, them triggering you, because listen, they know what your trigger points are. They were in a relationship with you. So they know, oh, if I say this, they're gonna react. If I say this, they're gonna react, right? So you've got to stop responding to the things that used to trigger you. You do that all through the help, of course, of a coach, a mediator, someone that can coach you through that process. So I encourage you, definitely in the links below, there's a way to sign up for a free session with me. In the meantime, you want to make sure that you are clear about what you're going to respond to and what you're not. If it's about JoJo, respond to whatever it is about JoJo that you need to respond to. If it's something that you've already explained to them before, there's no point to respond. There's no need to respond. This person just is doing attention-seeking behavior. You've got to know the difference between attention-seeking behavior and appropriate behavior, okay? That's a whole different video. But you've got to know the difference. You got to set clear boundaries. If they texting you after 9:30 p.m., don't respond. If it's not an emergency, they can wait till the next day, okay? If it's not an emergency, you don't even have to respond at all, okay? You don't have to respond to foolishness. You don't have to respond every time that toxic ex is texting you. Every time they're calling you, you don't have to pick up at the drop of a dime. They're not your boyfriend anymore. They're not your husband. They're not your girlfriend. They're not your wife. They're not that person anymore, okay? So you no longer have to abide by their rules, okay? You're setting up your own rules, because guess what? You're protecting you. This person is now disturbing your peace. Let it go. This is not about JoJo. I'm not responding, okay? The next thing you need to make sure that you do is have enforceable boundaries, okay? So we talked about texting after 9:30, if that's your timetable. This person texts you after 9:30, I'm not responding. I already told you, do not text me after 9:30. Unless it's an emergency, this is not an emergency, right? So you enforce that by not responding, okay? This person is late picking up JoJo, okay? So you give them 15 minutes of time. After 15 minutes, you got plans. So you and JoJo you're gonna have to have either a backup plan for JoJo, or you and JoJo are leaving. Period, point blank. You got 15 minutes of grace period. You want to make sure that you have enforceable boundaries. Now, at this point, this person knows if they're going to see JoJo at 5 o'clock, they need to be there by 5:15. Otherwise, they're not seeing JoJo that day. You see what I'm saying? You want to make sure you're documenting things. You want to keep a track record of things, just so that if you do go to court, this is some things you can present to the judge. Look, judge, this man has a long history of showing up, having us wait for 15 minutes. He has a long history of texting foolishness. He has a long history of talking about things other than our child. This is why I'm enforcing these things. This is why I'm requesting that we have a third party to communicate through, because this man is emotionally abusing me through text message. This man is emotionally abusing me through FaceTime, or whatever the case may be. You want to be able to enforce these things. Again, you going back and forth is not helping, because now they're going to have their track record of you being foolish, right? So you've got to have some support, and I cannot stress this enough. This is not something that most people can do alone. You gotta have support until you're strong enough out of that relationship to be able to say no on your own to that person, to be able to hang up the phone when it gets crazy, to be able to delete the text, right? To be able to say, okay, you know what, this is what I'm keeping for my records for us to go to court if we're going to go to court. Or if I'm just going to delete it because that person it doesn't mean all that to me anyway. When you are able to move on from a narcissistic ex, that is something to be celebrated, because it is very, very difficult to do, especially if you don't know the depth of what you're dealing with. If this person is a real a narcissist, like just they haven't been diagnosed, but they have all of the tendencies, the gaslighting, the abuse, all of the things, then you, again, will need help to get strong, to have the support to coach you out of that and to be completely free from it. Because what happens is you've been in a relationship with someone that had these tendencies about them, right? And you think that that's normal. You think everybody is lying. You think everybody is gaslighting. You think everybody is being disloyal, dishonest. Everybody is abusive, right? And so you go into trying to move on and you go to another relationship with all of these walls up. And this person has still got control, right? Your ex still has control, because now you can't even properly move on to a healthy relationship because you're still thinking about what James did to you, what Jack did to you, right? And so you got to be coached out of that behavior of tolerating behavior from Jack that you've been tolerating for the last 5 years, and know that this is not acceptable. And when you go into another relationship, this person that has similar traits to Jack, you got to know, okay, you know what? That's a red flag. This person is constantly making me feel like I'm crazy, like I'm stupid, like I don't need anybody but him. This is the same thing Jack did. Or this person may be empowering you and you may be taking it as, oh, he's going to abuse me, so maybe I should, he's just like Jack, and so maybe I should keep testing and testing and testing, and then you run the man away. So you've got to be able to get healed from Jack and know that, okay, David over here, he's not Jack, right? And in the midst of all of that, still try to co-parent with Jack, okay? So it's a lot of different parts, and then you got to raise this child to have a healthy environment, have a healthy mom or a healthy father, so that, you know, this child knows, okay, right from wrong, how to respond, how to set up their own healthy boundaries. The two things I just want you to remember is, the first thing is make sure that your boundaries are for you, to protect you, protect your peace, to protect your happiness, protect your joy, and that they are clear and defined. 9:30 is the cutoff point. 15 minutes late, you're done. You cannot have your visitation today. Clear points. Make sure you have a clear and defined parenting plan. That way you're not in trouble because you keeping your kids away, right? You don't want to be keeping your kids away from their parent, but at the same time, you want to make sure that parent is being respectful of you as well. You want to have things that are enforceable, right? If he calls you at 9:55 every night just to bug you, you know that you can put him on Do Not Disturb. You know that, right? You know that you can make sure that he goes straight to voicemail, right? You know that you don't have to meet at your house to do the pickup and drop-offs, right? You know that you can meet in a neutral space out in public for the pickups and drop-offs. They don't even have to step foot on your property. You know that when they step foot on your property and you did not invite them, they can be charged for trespassing, right? These are things that you can enforce now that you are away from the narcissistic ex. My challenge for you this week, the rest of the weeks or however long, is to enforce your boundaries. Enforce them. Do not tolerate mess just because you want to be the nice person. You want to be the bigger person. Yes, be the bigger person and enforce your stuff, because guess what? You are valuable. You are valuable. Yes, I'm talking to you. And you've got to protect that value. You are not some, what do you call the fake jewelry? You're not that. You are real. And what you have is authentic enough that you need protection. You need to protect, and you protect your value with healthy boundaries. You protect your peace, your joy, your happiness, you being able to move on to a healthy relationship. Wow, by setting healthy boundaries. healthy boundaries. You communicate them like an adult, and if they can't abide by your boundaries, then goodbye. You don't have to be here. We was able to get away from you, and now we're living our best life without you. I just want to stop by to encourage somebody. Go ahead and set those healthy boundaries. Make sure they're clear, make sure they're defined, make sure they're communicated, and make sure they're enforceable. It's your girl, Chanel Renee. Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Until next time, continue to be amazing. Make sure you subscribe, share this video with somebody else, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.